what the rule of law requires from the Sharia, from the normative legal system itself. So, for example, you know, when you consider the issue of stoning for adultery, the requirement, the evidentiary standard, is 4 live witnesses to the act of sexual relations at the time that it's taking place. From an evidentiary perspective, it's almost impossible to establish that unless it's some kind of party that's gone a little bit weird. You know, it's very, very difficult to establish that criteria. So the fact that you have...
And the punishment?
That punishment...
Stoning to death?
Yeah, the fact that you have the punishment even taking place means that effectively the rule of law is being abused at some point, because it's impossible to establish that evidentiary standard.
But you would agree with stoning to death for adultery?
I mean, the whole point is that that was never envisaged, really.
But I mean, you would agree?
I agree with the Islamic concepts of how we practice our punishments, okay, generally speaking, what they are. Whether or not they're even applicable.
What's a really important point in all this?
I think it's important. So
sure.
Cage, well, the difference between cage prison is your personal opinion. I accept that.
This is purely my own personal opinion.
Purely your personal opinion is that the death penalty is okay.
From an Islamic perspective, yes, as long as all the due process elements are met, then it can be, depending on if all the elements are there.
I think that, you know, what happens is when people discuss Sharia, it's everybody discusses crime and punishment, or the punishment, the hudud. So what we're talking about here is the hudud, the punishment aspect. That's not Sharia. The Sharia is the law.
And yes, that's the whole rule of law process.
Right, it's the whole process.
Which is what I want to get at.
Yeah. And none of us are really sort of qualified to talk about it in the way that it should be discussed in terms of a country establishing itself and formulating these rules. And primarily because no country has applied them since the fall of the Caliphate of the Ottomans. So it's in essence a theoretical discussion. That's something we have to develop.
Do you think this, if you go back to the Ottomans and the Ottoman Caliphate, the absence of an Islamic state that most people would want to live in, it seems, would you agree that there's not too many? Maybe Oman is it? I'm not sure.
Let me tell you a very interesting point. When the Caliphate was abolished, one of the
Ottoman Caliphate.
The Ottoman Caliphate was abolished. One of the first people to advocate for it was Mohandas K. Gandhi, and the reason why is because he understood that this was something that was central to the fabric of Islamic history, and so I think the call for the establishment of a caliphate, or perhaps not even using that word, but a united Muslim bloc, is something that most people would want.
Don't you think Tunisians would go, we're Muslims, we're in Tunisia, we speak a bit of French, a bit of Arabic, and we want self-determination, and self-determination is best met by not palling up too much with Egypt, because the numbers in Egypt are much larger.
Of course, that's, and the Arabs have attempted it. They've tried to do the different organizations of just Arab unity, but this goes beyond Arab unity, and this is, I'm talking about Islamic unity, which includes Turks, it includes Iranians, it includes Pakistanis and Indonesians. It's huge, it's massive.
But why have unity?
Well, why would Europe want unity? The whole point of unity...
I think the reason Europe wanted unity actually was set up by the United States to make the United States of Europe that would be economically powerful enough in order to combat the Soviet Union. That's why I think.
And I think that the reason.
And now it's a trade bloc.
Right. The reason for unity would probably be economics, of course, defense, of course, and harking back to a history where you could travel from one point to the other unhindered, because you're a citizen of this land, and that this land isn't divided based upon colonial principles.
So you get a Muslim passport.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know about that. But I mean,
just the same way as you have in Europe. You have the ability to travel within Europe and very, very freely. Part of your own nation.
And you have a right to work in any country.
Right.
Possibly.
Very interesting.
We'll see.
Okay, so now let's come back to cage prisoners. There's all sorts of things to do in life. Why are you doing cage prisoners? Nassim?
I mean, I'm supposed to be a corporate lawyer, so I find myself changing quite radically. But, I mean, seeing Guantanamo, seeing indefinite detention without charge in the UK, seeing the Extradition Act, you know, all of these things culminate in telling you, well, actually, the law is being abused here, and for a very specific purpose. And all of that kind of convinced me that I needed to be involved with something that was working against these policies. And Cage Prison is an important voice for Muslims. It's an empowering voice. It's one that we hope tells Muslims that you can actually stand up for yourself. You can stand up for the right thing without feeling as if you're doing something criminal.
I think for me it's obvious. It's part of something that I've been affected by, something that I am constantly, even if I didn't want to do it, I'd be affected by it to this day. So it's something that I think people will say that it's something called survivor's guilt, that you will survive a particular trauma, but other people left in that situation are not surviving, so you have an obligation upon yourself to fight for them. I feel I have not just a moral and religious, but also a duty based upon my own personal experience and ability. If I know I can do it, then I have to do it, and I think I can do it. I'm just interested, have you got any a thought, a plan, if you're, may God protect you, but if you're sent over there to the US,